Walton. I'm so glad you guys are all with me here tonight. It's Valentine's Day. It is also International UFO Congress is going on. It started today. And, you know, how do you top that? So what we've decided to do is combine the two. So we're having Alien Valentine's Day here at International UFO Congress. We're at the Wecopa Casino and Resort in Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, Arizona. And it's been interesting. It's raining outside of all things. It's the first year I've been here that it started raining, but it's nice and warm. So at least it's nice, warm rain. And, you know, you never know. We're going to talk alien sex. We're going to talk all kinds of fun stuff tonight here on the show. So I hope you guys are ready for it. I've got quite a crew of women here this evening. So it's going to be a little slanted. So you guys, if you know we hurt your little ears, just close them and we'll and just let the juices flow, as they say. Those darn aliens with their little green juices. You never know what's going to happen. Okay, so I've got a Robin here. I've got Tana. I've got Misha. I've got Janet. I've got Kara, and Joanne Richards is with us as well. And Melinda Leslie will join us in a little bit. I've asked Cheryl Costa to stop on by, but it's a cocktail party right now, folks. So everybody's in there having their, you know, alien drinks with the little, you know, green umbrellas. And I think there's a little bit of foam coming off the top, and there might even be steam rolling off of it. And who knows what they're putting there? Probably that alien tequila. I think that's what's in those drinks. So anyhow, I hope you guys are ready for this. So my first question out of the gate for all the women sitting here in the gallery, as I'd like to call it, is have you ever been abducted, and during your abduction, did you actually have sex with an alien? And I see a lot of heads shaking no. Oh, I see one yes. How about you? Yeah, we got a yes. We got a yes. Robin says no. Okay. All right. So we got 3 yeses. So we're going to start out right at the very beginning with each one of you guys. Just tell us you don't have to go into detail, but just tell us kind of what it was like, because, you know, whether it was scary, whether it was enjoyable, whether the alien was nice to you, whether he was mean to you, whether it was a typical, like a normal guy, you know, because as far as I'm concerned, if they really want to have sex with you, then they must have some kind of feeling going behind it. And I'm very confused about that because I've never had sex with an alien, so I don't know. You know, I have no idea what this is all about. So, Tana, since you're the most embarrassed about this, you're going to be the beginner. Yeah, come on over here. Let's put you in the hot seat. So everyone, this is Tana, and do you want to use your last name? Okay, Tana Newberry, and she is an amazing psychic. She's also a contactee. She also is doing night vision tours, along with Misha Johnson does them in Las Vegas. Tana does them in Benicia, California, which is right near San Francisco. And Melinda Leslie, who's joining us, also does it in Sedona. And what we realized tonight is that we're a bunch of women that do night vision stuff, and we've also dubbed ourselves here at all the conferences the Rack Pack. And we are now officially, we have chapters of the Rack Pack, and they are in Sedona, Northern California, or San Francisco, and Las Vegas. So any girls out there that want to come to the conferences and join the Rack Pack, we'd love to have more women out there, different chapters. So we could all say we get together at all the conferences and we represent different areas of the United States. Wouldn't that be fun? It would be really fun, and we all hang out together. We have a great time, so, you know, come join us. We'd love to have you be our sisterhood. So there we are. Okay, now back to the question. What was your experience like? And, you know, tell us just what you want to tell us.
Okay, so first thing that comes to mind is, do aliens have all the right parts, right?
Well, yeah,
I've gotten asked this a lot.
That's a good question.
And it was interesting because in my experience, it was more of a energy field around the areas that count. And other than it being a very physical manifestation, instead, it was a manifestation of like a little bit of a light source or energy field coming from some of those important areas. And it felt a little bit more like a energy meld, with the being. I don't know, again, this is not my area of research or usual topic, so I haven't talked to like a million people about this, but yes, the experience is very, recallable in my mind. And it did feel somewhat gray related, which is questionable because you really don't think that's the first thing that came to mind is, oh, they don't have the parts, But and it was funny because it was also included in the experience was a bit of levitation. Okay, so I found myself sort of floating in a middle area of the room in the craft, if you will, and there was sort of a kind of like if you were underwater or flying, a bit of a dance back and forth. But the areas that counted were more of an energy meld, if you will, and I was really under the understanding that what was going on was, what quote unquote sexy time.
Okay, but now let me ask you this because no I'm very confused. But did your body parts react to the energy, or do you think it was your mind causing your body parts to do the deed? And in other words, did you finish this whole thing, and it was basically like doing it by yourself?
Okay. Well, nothing's like doing it by yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, so first off, I will say that I felt a very a kinship towards it was a very, I would describe it as kind of beautiful and sensual, not as much sexual in the way you would think like, oh, did it work? Did it get you there? So it wasn't more like that, but it was a little bit more of a sensual merging and dance that I was to understand that this was a mating process. Now, the other interesting thing to know about me is that a lot of my experience all centers around the hybrid program. And not only do I recall situations that are, sexual or conception related, but I also recall a lot of experiences where gestation is happening too. So I will feel as if there is some sort of either physical or energetic energy in the parts that count, right? And then that's part of my overall story. So there have been different kinds of experiences that I found myself sort of conceiving or with that in mind, kind of bringing some energy into my body. But I mean, if you say, have you had sex with an alien and not some other in vitro or other situation that is prevalent in contacts, this is the one that stands out. I felt very, very respected, very cared for. I felt that they were, the being as well as other ones that were sort of overseeing, were very kind and accommodating and very, it seemed to be a high valued asset kind of situation. It was a lot of care was taken into making sure I was comfortable and enjoying myself. Is that weird?
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And the reason I asked that is because as compared to them just taking the eggs like they do with people, they wanted you to have an experience of the orgasm with the taking of the eggs, it kind of sounds like to me. So they were putting an energy imprint into those eggs of your happiness and your peace and your calm instead of this whole fear of, and maybe they figured out that might cause a problem with the little babies afterwards.
I don't know. Now, one thing that did come to mind with this is, often with any sort of other conception related process that's a little bit more, biological in nature, when you talk about, some of the technological processes in vitro or other type of, that's just lack of a better term, something that seemed more clinical in nature. This, with the clinical things and, that have that nature, I was kind of under the understanding that sometimes whatever energy was coming into my body was maybe a makeup of multiple different DNA pieces, species pieces like that, right? So what was interesting about this particular engagement, if you will, was that it really felt that there was one being and me.
Oh.
And so is this an ET alien lover of mine? Is this just somebody who I was assigned to have like a beautiful experience with? Is this by my subconscious request to have some sort of, wooing? I have no idea. I really don't know. But all I know is that, as weird as it may sound, and as much as I will probably never talk about this a super lot again,
now that it's all over the internet,
now that it's just no way is around the world right now. But I will say that I would not have passed. I would have went ahead and taken the experience. I wouldn't mind doing it again. Sorry about it.
How do I get a hold of this guy? this alien.
And the other thing that was also notable is even though it did have sort of kind of a grayish feel to the entity, it also did feel very human. So me being involved in the hybrid program and really having a contract to assist in that process, I wonder how alien it was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, is there some...
Do you think it might have been military disguising themselves as alien?
Okay, well, that's absolutely possible, right? All things have to be considered. And all I have is my one perspective and not a lot of research, and I haven't shared the conversation with many people yet. So feel free to email me, everyone, if you have alien half-breed military guys or whatever. But it's strange to talk about, yes, but I think this has got to happen a lot. You know, it's got to happen a lot. And I know people don't, it's kind of less the whole subject's taboo, but it's less taboo to be like, oh yeah, it was, you know, some sort of clinical process, right? I'm on a table, they take the ovum, whatever. Right. But I think it's probably even more taboo to say I've had, you know, a sexual relationship at least once with another being. Well,
there's a woman from our past in the experiencers that was the jazz singer. I can't remember her. Pamela Stonebrook, yes. And she swore for years and years on coast to coast and everywhere that she had a reptilian lover. They used to come and visit her, and he had all the parts. And she says, once you had sex with a reptilian, you never go back. I'll never forget her saying that. And she said it live on air. She said, and I'm like, you know, the part about that's very intriguing, and I never judged Pamela for saying that, because I have been to the place of love and light, and the love there is absolutely amazing. That if you can take that from the alien consciousness, or they can put it into yours while you're having a physical feeling with it, it would seem like like a cosmic orgasm. And there can't be anything like that, you know, a man and woman on this physical plane can do. So I totally got that when she said it. I mean, I laughed and chuckled, but seriously, and she did, you know, and I'm going to say this live on air, she did say he had the most amazing member that she'd ever encountered in her life between a human and a, you know, among all humans. So I thought that was quite funny too. But this has been going on for a long time, and she was probably the only one in the 90s, late 80s and 90s that really came out, and Misha came out with that too. I remember you told me you did that. But oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Well, Misha's going to come talk to us in just a couple minutes, but she's going to talk more about Pam and what they did and the whole thing with their you know, alien love bite. But it's not a love bite. This one is more of a thank you for being there. Thank you for being my friend.
And it's completely true, because if you think about a telepathic nature of these beings, they're not just touching the outside of your body. They're going into your brain and tickling all your you know, inner workings and consciousness. Exactly. And so it's interesting that the, you know, energy fields would be sort of mixed in all the right places, right? I mean, it literally felt like a little vortex or ball of light, right? You know, where it counted, and through that, there's like not just the physical sensation, but there's like an energetic trade, and then there's also like the telepathic nature, and it's like feel good, and you're like, oh, I feel good, you know. So there you go, there it is. Sign everybody up, and you won't regret it.
You'll never be unsatisfied. Yeah, we guarantee satisfaction. I guess that we should put that on the side of every alien ship. Oh my God, I can see it now. You know, that would be perfect in Las Vegas. You know how they had the trucks running around with all the half-naked girls? We could put a half-naked reptilian up there, you know, satisfaction guaranteed. That'd be so funny. I've never had what you were talking about. You know, I had this whole thing happen with Max in a vision, and it was exactly like what you're talking about. But it was all in my head. It was the vision that happened, and I told you guys I melted with him, and there was this amazing sexual type of relationship, but I wasn't feeling the sex. I was feeling the melting of the consciousness and the love and all that stuff together, where I think it's called a twinning process. I'm not sure, in the whole super soldier consciousness community, where when they want you to be paired with somebody in the type of, super soldier, psychic warrior, secret space program type of thing, where you're working with somebody all the time. I think they do that. I'm just still not sure on how that all works.
So that's interesting, because I also had a situation with another ET contactee who may have had more to the story than I was ever privy to, because, there's lots of things that are either embarrassing or you just don't share with everybody. Right. But there was someone who was an ET contactee that I came across, and we had a very special connection. And I felt that I could call that energy in at any time. Wow. And what was interesting is I really got the sense that ET contactee, or whatever energy you're drawing in, doesn't necessarily have to be present with it at that moment, that the experience you can actually take from any time and space. Yes. And bring it right on down at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday night after you've had your bath and glass of wine. And no, I'm serious. You really can. You can draw that energy from anywhere and just kind of direct it towards, or you'll feel it come into you, an energy. And it's interesting because you talk about ETs, telepathic in nature. ET contactees, very prone to having telepathic abilities. And there's this level of consciousness and ability telepathically that adds this whole extra layer to an intimate situation, thus making all of us girls swoon, You
don't have to say a little to the left, a little to the right.
No, because it's everywhere. It's all over, and it's outside of your body. It's inside of your body. It's everywhere. And so, it's just great.
See, this is the problem, folks. Once you had it, like Pamela Stonebrook said, there's no going back, I don't think. So anyhow, let's move on to the next one. And then we're going to add that in as the group.
Oh, and by the way, I take no responsibility for naming the Rack Pack, although I think I did. And we're no fun at all, so don't hang out with us ever.
Oh, yeah, that is a lie. I can tell you that right now. Okay, let's have Misha come up, and then we'll do Janet, and then you guys can talk about, it doesn't have to be this, but I want your perspective on the whole sex alien thing. So, okay, this is Misha Johnston, and she has a radio show over on KCOR Radio on Saturday afternoons at 12 noon Pacific. And she's also been a good friend of mine for a long time, and she is a well-known experiencer. She'll be speaking at UFO Con this year. And we're going to talk a little, she's not talking necessarily about this topic, but she is going to talk about the different aliens. And
I talk a little on this stuff too.
Oh, you are going to talk about it? Okay, wonderful.
I don't think I have guests, do you?
I wasn't sure if you were or not. Well, this is good. So now tell us in a little more detail than usual. I mean, because we don't ever talk about this on the radio, and thank God it's Valentine's Day. We would never get away with this. So tell us in more detail, Misha, about what you've experienced in the past.
All right. Well, first started in 1989 when I met a very tall reptilian. He came to me first in a wonderful energy and then subsequently he would come throughout my experiences. Now, one night, I woke up having this ecstatic energy, and I thought that was a dream. I woke up and there he is, parallel, laying
straight across.
Yeah. And it was the most amazing energy, most amazing Kundalini experience, full body orgasm.
Yeah.
And like she said, Pamela says, once you had that, you can't compare it to anything that any human man can do. And I will give you a little bit more indication about this. Was an ongoing experience, and still Ayano still protects me and is at my home, and many people have seen him.
Oh, that's right. You guys, I forgot to tell you this.
Many lives.
Yeah. She still sees him. He still hangs out with her. So it's very interesting. It's like a lifelong protector, or partner.
Well, yes, because I've since found out through regression and through some of my own memories that we've had lives together, and not always as a reptilian, but we've had lives together. So I would call him a counterpart soulmate. That's the only way I could could explain it now. But one time he kind of stepped over the line.
What did he do?
I was with another man who I was really becoming, I felt like a twin flame. I felt he was a twin flame. And we'd been together for 5 years. And one night during a very passionate time, this energy opened up above me, above him, I should say, because I'm on the bottom. And there's this energy. And then all of a sudden, I better not say his name. All of a sudden, it went into him, and he was different. He was completely different. That same spiritual, amazing energy was transferred into him. And so for those moments, he was a fantastic alien.
Okay, now
experience.
Hold on. I gotta say something here. I've heard this before. A woman came to me. Yeah, no, a woman. I can't remember, but it was back when I was doing those all-night super soldier calls. This woman said she swore to me that her husband had been taken over by a reptilian, and she needed help because you guys are gonna love this. She was afraid the reptilian was gonna leave, and then she'd be stuck. I swear to God. Stuck with her husband again. Normal. I swear to God, I never told anybody this. I kind of forgot about it. And the minute you said that, it slapped me upside the head. And I didn't know what at the time to say to that woman. And I haven't heard from her since. But it was just the most bizarre conversation I thought I'd ever have. But now we're getting into it again. Yeah.
I'm very glad to hear there's somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot more than you think. I would believe that don't talk about it.
I do find this out because I facilitate support groups of people who are experiencers, not only in Las Vegas but all over the world, because I have these internet virtual live groups. So I've talked to, but I've never had anybody talk about that particular experience. So anyway, to finish it, then I realized what was going on, and I said, "Oh, Ayano, get out of him!" Get out. and we'll call him B. B looked back down at me. He said, "What? What happened to me? What happened to me?" Because he saw and felt the condition, the change in him as well. Because he was this mad, passionate lover. And then Ayano immediately, and he telepathically, which is all of our conversations, said, "I am so sorry. I just wanted to feel like what it would feel like again to be with you in form."
Wow.
And so I could understand, but B could not understand. The boyfriend did not understand, and he took off out of the house, which we lived in together, and jumped in his car and I gotta have some break. I have to have some time. So that is that. And then of course Pam. So Pamela and I talked many times about our experience because really we were the only one talking about it. I was speaking at the Little Alien and the conferences like that about it, and I was talking about it. And in fact, I had kind of a reputation me and Pam about that. But no, on all serious aside, there is not just a Kundalini and full body orgasm, but the most unconditionally loving energy that you can ever imagine, and it's really marvelous. And then later on, very very soon after that, actually I did break up with the boyfriend, unfortunately, due to that, I know, but it's a little hard to take, I'm sure. But I ended up. I lost my train here of thought. So I ended up on board a ship, and there were children around, and this was like maybe a 3-year-old. So it was quite, it was a few years later. I saw this little being kind of walk up, and because I was thinking to myself, which one is it? Because I've been shown like 17 children, and so I saw this little reptilian being walk up. Very timidly walk up, but I could feel that was my child. And I said, "Who's the father?" And they said, "Well, you call him Ayano and the All." So that was a telepathic message. And when they give you these messages, it's all like it's Technicolor. It's hologram. You get not just words, but you get the whole thought forms and the whole sentences, the whole story. And so what they were showing me, the all is many different genetics. Yes. And so subsequently I also met two other reptilian children that I don't know. I didn't ask whether they were Ayano or not, but I know they were mine.
Oh, they were yours.
So I would imagine they were Ayano because I don't. And so people can come by and take a look at Ayano at my table.
That's
here
right. Yes, you've draw Ayano and
an artist. I've got like 4 different artist drawings of them, different artists, and so.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could basically say you and Ayano are having a Valentine's Day together, alien Valentine's.
Well, if I was home.
Yeah. Oh boy, that set me up for what I could say about at the hotel tonight, but I'm not going to say that. There could be a lot of alien sex going on, yeah.
There's no time and space, so, if my roommate doesn't mind.
Maybe you can do everybody. Oh, God, I didn't say that, did I? Oh, my God. Okay, thank you, sweetheart. Okay, we'll talk more about this.
We're talking about when Ayano takes her over.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Janet, you're up. Oh my God, you guys, it's turning into a free-for-all in here. We're getting very unprofessional all of a sudden. But that's okay, it'll work. We're still connected. Oh, good. Thanks, MJ. Okay, sweetheart. Now, this is Janet Lesson. She is another part of the Rack Pack. And we've even honored her husband as part of the Rack Pack in a weird way. He gets to hang out with us. Yeah, he's an honorary male member of the Rack Pack. And, you're our Hawaii contingency. I forgot about that. You're the Hawaii chapter. Yeah. God, we're growing rapidly by the minute. This is great. Okay. And Janet has Aquarian Radio. She's also heard on Revolution Radio. Is there any other stations I don't know about?
Right now, just Aquarian Radio, Revolution Radio.
Okay, perfect.
And I'll take on another.
I'll take on 7, right? I mean, gosh, yeah, turn me off. Let's see. And I know that you have a story. You've got a bunch of stories about different aliens. Yeah, I haven't. So go ahead and pick one you like the most.
Okay. Well, basically, my entire life I've been turned on since I was 13 years old. And when I found out, really.
No, what do you mean by turned on? We need to know.
The extraterrestrials made me very sexually interested in having sex. And so they kept matching with people all my life. And then they would show me the children later, and they said they genetically enhanced. So they would take the semen sometimes.
They can't hear you right now. So every time I pull the microphone away, no, it's okay. I just wanted to say, you know what? This is a common theme between most abductees. When they're 5 or 6, there's some exam done to the female area. And in Niara's case, there was a gel applied, and I've heard of a couple of other women that have had some kind of something put in them to make them much more sexual when they got into their teens. As soon as they hit puberty, they are now in the program somehow, and there are a lot of male men, human men, brought to them, and they usually have sex at a younger age. And then also, at the same time they're having sex with these male humans, there's also the breeding program going on that they may or may not be aware of. But they think it's just human men that are getting them pregnant, when in reality, most times it's the aliens.
Well, but I did have human sex. So what they told me was that they don't need just 2 parents. They can combine your DNA with as many parents of different races that they desire.
Okay, now wait. You just said that you've got so many, these kids, these alien hybrids are many mixes of DNA, not just 2, not male, female.
The misconception is that we need 1 male, 1 female. Okay. But they can actually mix our DNA from dozens of different species and different individuals.
Okay.
So that's why you can have a child now with a donor carrier, and it'll get the mitochondrial DNA from the donor woman who carries your fetus. That might be you and your husband. But this is more advanced. So if they want a certain characteristic or quality from a certain person, like Lorien's beautiful eyes. They'll use your DNA, and they might want somebody else's hair or somebody else's skills, mindset, ability to compute or whatever. And they will combine until they get what they want. So I've been told I have villages of children. For some reason, they like my DNA. But that's because I'm part of the Anunnaki Galsu lineage. And
What's Galsu?
Galsu is kind of like, I hate to use hierarchy, but it's a higher level awareness, like a, 8th, 9th, 10th dimensional being, maybe 11th, a very high dimensional being. And so they use the characteristics and qualities of all these different beings in different dimensions to create these, I guess they're 3rd, 4th dimensions. So when I was taken on board craft, that's when they would show me these children. And so they showed my son by Sasha. I've never been able to live birth one or have them, carry them or have them here on Earth with me. But when I go up on board ship, they show me my children. And I'm part of the humanoid program, although I have a strong connection to the reptilian faction as well. But anyway, so they showed my son by...
What a matchup!
And what a team, Mike. Metro PCS and the iPhone SE for $0 on a network that covers 99% of people in the U.S. Oh, impressive.
Play with the best. Switch to Metro PCS on an unlimited LTE plan and get a 32-gig iPhone SE for $0. Metro PCS. Coverage not available in some areas, plus sales tax. Claim based on talk and text. Not valid for active numbers currently on the T-Mobile network or active on Metro PCS in the past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Sasha, when he was a baby, and then next thing they showed him as a toddler, and they showed him as a young man, and they showed him as full adult male. And the same thing happened with my one lover, Ed. So Did
they enhance them also? I mean, they were and they're all living on a ship somewhere out there.
Another planet. I don't know exactly where they take the children. But I had one experience where it was that, I've had probably lots of experiences with aliens, but one where they, but I remember the member. And I kind of blocked the face, right? It was just a form, and there was this member coming at me. I can't get descriptive of what it looked like because I don't think that's appropriate.
Did it look human, though?
It was, it was attached to the body by a V.
I've heard this before.
And it was flat, and then it was rounded at the end.
Yes.
And immediately upon insertion, I orgasmed.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But I wanted to address what's going on because I went on to study Tantra extensively. And what you're having is we have these skin encapsulated self senses which separate us from the apparent other. So when you merge consciousness, body, soul, mind, and you awaken your chakras and you awaken your kundalini, you have the unity consciousness, oneness experience. And it's very orgastic. It's like an extended orgasm because the energy starts at your base chakra and it goes up through your genital chakras and through all your chakras, and you're having a whole body orgasm, and it shoots out through your crown chakra. You go all the way to source, and you start becoming more conscious, aware, psychic, and involved. So it's an evolutionary process, and you can't accomplish that with a human being, but you have to train your men.
Good luck on that one. No, I'm joking. Sorry, I didn't say that.
You could probably get there with women too. I don't want to, we're not
with
your
that road.
partner,
partner.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you said that because when you said immediately upon insertion, that could mean, and don't take this wrong, folks, but that could mean they could put a needle in you, an artificial penis, whatever they wanted to, as long as there's that connection. And I've always said this. I think it goes deeper. I think they tweak something in your head with a frequency that causes all of your endocrine system and all the chemicals to release at once, and it tweaks the the base chakra, like you were talking about, causing the full body orgasm, but it does it with a chemical release at the same time of endorphins that is nothing like you can get a male to do here on this planet, because they're incapable of doing that. And I don't know how they do it, but I felt it, because what it does is it triggers a love sense and an endorphin high that's very different, because you can get that from an orgasm, but you can't get it till you're in the orgasm. Theirs is it happens you get it after the orgasm. You can get it from the beginning of the orgasm with them.
One could get I'm a sexual expert, okay? So one could get an orgasm from the insertion of a vibrator.
Right.
So that was a type of orgasm. It wasn't a full body loving one.
Exactly.
For some reason, this experience, but it was living tissue. I mean.
Oh, really?
Because I could feel it. It wasn't, if you have a human penis with a rubber on it, it feels different. Yeah, with a condom. So it was definitely flesh against flesh.
Very interesting.
But part of having the orgasm, I think somebody touched on it, is that you have a certain higher connection to the soul that comes into the fetus. They want you to have the orgasm.
Exactly.
So souls that come like through maybe a rape, although a lot of people have orgasms, they get raped, but a soul that comes in unconsciously, not through the orgasm.
Exactly, and that's what I was saying when Tana was talking about it. They wanted her to feel good because it changes the whole energy of the fetus.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you have that with love on top of the orgasm, that's when they can pull in the highest level beings into consciousness.
Exactly. So exactly. Because you can't pull them in if you're screaming in terror.
Right.
It's just that simple. And maybe they finally figured that out.
Yes.
So maybe we'll all have a good time. We're abducted now instead of the screaming on the table.
I think some ETs are trying to teach us that, to do it with between humans, because that's why they brought Tantra to the earth. But everything gets co-opted, so they made Tantra into prostitution and dirty.
Oh, I know.
And it's like if you go back to the base, it's a very high spiritual practice.
It is. They were doing it in India with everybody back in the day, and that's when we were really communing with the aliens back then too.
Right. So, yeah.
Very interesting.
So.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Now, who's next that wants to sit in the hot seat? Joanne, you want to give your 2 cents on some of this? Come on down. It could be very interesting. You never know where we're going to end up.
Everybody's doing it, Joanne.
Everybody's doing it. That's right. Oh, my God. Okay, so this is Joanne Richards, and she has a nonprofit called Earth Defense Headquarters, and a lot of her work is based on her husband's secret space program and alien contact and diplomatic. He's a diplomatic person for the alien corps, I would say at this point. Yeah, an emissary for the planet Earth, and his father was very much involved in the very beginnings, I would think, of a kind of an MJ Majestic organization that runs the whole alien human agenda. And very interesting person. And what Joanne does is she goes around and speaks for Mark, because Mark is, you tell the story about what's happened to Mark. But then after that, let's get into, I want to talk a little bit about fairies and sex and things like that, because I do a little bit, but maybe we can talk about that. And if not, we'll go on to something else. Anyhow, so tell us a little bit about Mark, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Okay. Oh, let's see. So, like Lorien said, my husband was involved with military intelligence for years. And in 1982, he was framed for masterminding a murder that happened in Marin County, California. And he's been in prison ever since 1982, or incarcerated. So, publicly, the charges were that he masterminded a murder that he had absolutely nothing to do with. And privately, we know that, he pissed somebody off in the, New World Order level of people, and that's probably why he's where he is. Or at least they've used it to keep him where he is.
Exactly.
Right.
And didn't he at one point go against their orders on a couple of things? I remember us talking about that. Maybe it was private. I shouldn't be talking about it, but
I think when he's been given an order and he knows it's not the best way to do something, yes, he will go rogue and do the better thing. Yeah. Because he sees the bigger picture and the other way to do things. So, Yeah.
Yeah, I would consider Mark, and this is, I've always said this since the first time I ever heard about Mark, is that I consider him the first super soldier, because he was out there battling aliens and all kinds of things for, the first part of his career, and he relished in it, and he did a really good job.
Yeah, he loves it. There's if he could do anything right now, he'd be back to work.
Yeah.
If he ever gets out of prison, I know he'll go back to work.
Yeah.
Because it's like when I get lighted up when I talk about all this stuff, and he gets lighted up when you can talk about combat and killing and being around his alien friends, and not that he's anyway, he's a trained warrior. What can I say?
And we don't have enough of those nowadays. Trust me. We have a lot of people who think they are, through a lot of mind control, that are out there talking about how they're, super soldiers and secret space program people and, whatever. But I think the bottom line is the guys that really have been there aren't that many, and it's I don't know. I don't know where the consciousness community is going with that one. I'm just going to leave it to rest tonight, because we're talking sex and love. So, hey, we got to get back to the really important stuff. Exactly. So, yeah. So go ahead.
Well, he's told me a lot about raptors.
Oh yeah. Raptor sex. I want to hear about this.
And again, if you're a human and you've been kidnapped, or because sometimes they'll take you into their harem or whatever, and apparently you'll never want to go back, because if they lick you, there's like this amazing chemical in their saliva. No, it's okay. This is what I hear. I don't know, and it's so cool. I know, Anyway,
well, that sounds very interesting, because again, well, really, and do they have like the same kind of? Does it look the same?
I've never seen it, but he's done drawings, and it's pretty obvious. Not totally detailed drawings, but it's pretty obvious that they're very well endowed. And he tells me about his friends, and they're very interesting, because they are very loving and sexual, but very aggressive. And the females are really aggressive. But when they're flirting, they're head-butting, and they're not eating, but they're like, chewing on each other or biting their necks or, whatever. But they'll do a lot of hip butting and head butting, and
they're doing what reptilians do here on this planet. I mean, because a lot of little lizards do things like that, and
and it's funny, because the girls, the women, the females will, they'll do a line dance they love David Bowie, but they'll do line dances to attract the guys. And what can I say? But the other thing is, what's interesting is they have this really sensual poetry.
Really? Now, is it in their tongue?
Oh, yeah. It's in their language.
Yeah.
Okay, and Mark's quoted some to me, and it's like, oh, baby. It's just, and I don't know what he said.
Because the girls are all laughing in here, because, I got to say, Joanne, you have a different species than anybody else in this room has seen. So they even have a hard time with it, and I get that, you guys. I totally get it. But I do know that I have talked to a couple people out there that said the raptors do exist. So it's not like they don't. I just wonder sometimes if Mark isn't kind of just, pulling our chain a little bit with this. What do you think? Do you think it's telling us all the truth here?
I do. I mean, yes, I do, because I trust him implicitly. I've been around him for 20 years, so why lie to me now?
Yes. Yeah.
And he's been around them since he was a baby.
Right.
So
well, that's true.
Sometimes he's more raptorish himself than just because his attitude. Sometimes he has a very raptor attitude.
I never did ask you. Did he ever meet any the little Draco reptilians or any of those?
He knows Dracos. They're not. He has nothing good to say about Dracos.
Nothing good to say?
No.
Oh boy. Okay.
Sorry.
And those are the ones with the little wings when they get higher up in the archy.
Right. Some of the more elite ones have wings, apparently. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, and this is going to sound really weird, but I can't imagine a raptor having sex with a human. I just can't even wrap my head around it. How does this? I mean, can it happen?
It apparently does.
Oh my God, that's just so bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Okay, and they don't eat you when it's over like a black widow.
Sometimes accidents happen.
Jesus.
But and sometimes because they're very muscular and they're strong, and sometimes they break you, and they don't mean to.
Okay.
But and then their practice is, if they love you, they might eat you if you die, and not necessarily just because if you die during sex or anything like that. But I mean, just as a loving act, if one of their mates dies, they will eat them out of honor.
Okay, that's very interesting. You guys, what I find the most fascinating about this is if you studied a lot of the Star Trek stuff about the Klingons, I always wonder sometime if the reptilians, the Raptors, and all that weren't the impetus for the Klingon race, because when they had sex, they always used to beat each other up for fun.
The Raptors are very aggressive. That's just the way they are. And apparently it's quite an honor to have like different scars from your lovers or your mates or whatever. And it's like, and it's really funny to listen to him talk about them. It's like, because the male raptors will, look at the girl's rump, and it's like, and then the girl raptors are, and if their tails are big and strong, it's like, that's a big turn on. That's a big the tails makes you all that. And the males look at the girls' rumps. There's certain things that it's like, oh, she might be a good mate, or he might be a good mate, and they have their priorities.
Okay, this is very interesting.
They wear clothes, so they.
That's true.
They're naked most of the time.
They sure love that. Yeah.
Okay, now that was fascinating.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much. Okay, that was fun. Okay, does anybody else want to share anything? Melinda, do you want to share any experiences you might have had? Everybody else has shared. I mean, they bared their soul basically here tonight. Come on down. She's thinking about it. She's getting up. Come on, Melinda, you can do it. Was it a gray, a reptilian? What was it?
No, everyone, I could be here talking about the fact that a week ago I met with Jim Semivan for lunch for 2.5 hours. But no, we're here talking about alien
you're
sex.
Next week. You're my guest next week before you go on all the other talk shows.
Here I'm going to totally undo my credibility in one swoop. I'm sitting here cracking up in the background, everyone. And I feel like I've really missed out because I haven't had sex with aliens.
You haven't?
No.
Oh, but you've got a lot of kids. Do you remember how they were conceived?
Yeah, now, you guys, now I'm going to bore everyone to tears because it's like I haven't had aliens.
Tell us, because you know what? We've dissected how they do it and why they do it differently with different people and in the DNA and the genetics and all that.
All right, well.
Actually, we're being very scientifically funny is what we're doing.
Sure, whatever you say. Oh boy. All my experiences with them taking over from me have been very clinical. It's the equivalent of going to the gynecologist, It hasn't involved any sexual thing like that. It's been very clinical. So yes, I've been presented 3 hybrid children, and then one of them again as an old adult. So I saw the same child then as like a 30-year-old adult. And so, yes, I've had 4 hybrid presentations, but again, none of them involved a, quote, sexual act. It was all the taking of eggs and sperm, in my case, ovum, And so, that's to the best of my knowledge there. Now, there was one time where after I was shown, and I think I've told you about this before, and Misha may have heard of this before, where I was shown Earth being destroyed, and they projected an image on a screen, but I felt like I was standing out in a room. I mean, not out in a room, but like out in space, like I was floating in space. But I realized, no, I can't be actually out in space because I wouldn't be able to breathe or anything. Right. But it was like I was looking back at Earth, and it was so beautiful. And they said, what do you think? And I was really emotional about it. It was gorgeous. And then all of a sudden they blew it up. And so it was, but the reason I bring that up, and then that same experience, they had taken ovum and done other medical stuff to me. But then all of a sudden I'm taken to this other room and sat in this big chair. And in this experience, it involved ETs, Greys, I should say, and Nordics. But the Greys took me in another room. And they said, we want to thank you. Like it was like this whole thing about testing my emotional reaction to that and the way I felt about the planet. And they were saying, don't ever do this again. When they blew it up, there was a purpose. They said, don't do this again. Don't let this ever happen. That was their point. Oh, okay. But they then took me in another room and they sat me in this chair. And I felt like the Greys kind of just stood back. And next thing I know, God, I can't believe I'm getting to this. Why am I even here? Here goes credibility. No, but and all of a sudden I had this overwhelming. No one was touching me. I'm just sitting in a chair, and it didn't have any contraptions or anything on it. Yeah. I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden I go into like full-blown orgasm.
Yeah.
And
was it a full body thing?
Like well, no, I just remember. Well, yeah, it was intense. I got like lost in it for a minute, and then all of a sudden it like ended. And the Greys are like just standing back around me. I'm like, well, what the hell was that? What the hell was that for? Yeah. And they said, what, you didn't like that? What, didn't you like that? Wasn't that good? And I'm like going, but yes, but that's beside the point. What the heck was that? And it was just like a mental projection thing, Right. And so nothing touched me, nothing touched the chair, anything. It just all of a sudden.
Have a physical reaction.
All of a sudden I had this feeling come over me that I'm like, what is going on? What am I feeling? And I go, I know what this is,
We hope you know what that is.
Yeah. And I got lost in for a minute, and then all of a sudden it kind of subsided, and I'm sitting there like in shock going, what was that for? And they said, well, didn't you like it? Like I said, didn't you like it? What, and I said, like I said, yes, but that's the point. And I go, what was that for? And they said, well, we wanted to thank you. And that was their way of thinking they could do something really cool for me to like say thank you. Like they learned that we like that, obviously. Yeah. So they learned that we like that. And so they stood back and said, well, that was like, thank you. It was like a thank you gift because of my reaction to Earth blowing up and caring. And it was like for, taking that responsibility of caring about the Earth. So it was just an overwhelming, feeling that came over me. And I was in like shock sitting there like, what the heck was that? And they said, well, we wanted to thank you. And they're like, isn't that a way? Isn't that what makes you happy? Isn't that what makes humans happy? I mean, that was like their thinking. And so that was their way of thanking me.
Why did they do that?
I called it the alien thank you present.
That's your Valentine's gift from them.
Yes. So they were showing me a little love, Anyway, so no, but it was weird, and I was in shock, and it just was a feeling that came over me. And I said, what was that for? And they said, we wanted to thank you.
Well, it's interesting because when I've never told this before live on air, but I'm going to do it right now. We're all doing true confessions. I was in a church. I had just gotten a healing from one of the healers in this. It's like a New Age church. And I got this healing. I was about 20 years old, and I go into the meeting, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, same thing happens to me. I have a total Kundalini awakening in the middle of the church while they're all praying. I'm standing there having full body orgasms, like running up and down my body. And it was because I think the healing had connected with some higher source, and they were like waking me up. And as Janet was saying earlier, that's what they do. But it was not the right time. I would have much rather been on an alien ship getting a thank you present than in the middle of church. I mean, it was like, yeah, and I'm trying to keep a straight face and not have like a woo-woo moment.
And in the moment, I was like embarrassed as hell because the Greys were just standing around me like watching this, like, what's wrong, Lynn? I always call them like bobble-headed dolls. They sit there and they go like tilt their head from side to side. What's wrong? What's wrong? Did you enjoy that? What's wrong? And I'm like going, what the heck, guys? And I was in shock, and and they looked all perplexed, and I was like embarrassed, and they're like, what's wrong? You didn't like that? Anyways, but I do. It was the thank you gift from them for caring about the planet.
I love that. I think that, and it goes to say, Tana said the same thing. They were they were giving her something really pleasurable and making her happy. And Misha's got Ayano who takes care of her. And, well, okay, I said that wrong. How do you want me to say it?
He protects me.
He protects her. Yeah, exactly. And he's been with you your whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
Never had any physical.
Yeah, he never what now?
Never had physical. That
Oh.
I have any memories of.
Oh, you haven't had physical with him. It's all been the energetic through the boyfriend. Okay, got it. Okay. Yeah, we got to straighten that out. Make sure we got to save Misha's reputation. What little we got left, we got to keep it. And you guys, this is coming from a group of women in this room. Tana's the youngest, but all of us are well in our 50s, 60s, whatever. We've been around the block a long time with this. And the reason I wanted to bring all you women in here and talk about this is because I was absolutely sure the men would not divulge some of the things they've done to them because they have had some really extraordinary experiences too. Yeah, Whitley does. Yeah.
Well, Whitley talks about the extraction of sperm, and a lot of men, they'll put this device on them and give them an orgasm to get them to extract sperm.
Yeah.
So they'll get them to ejaculate.
Yeah, they're not really happy.
That's actually common for a lot of men in experiences.
I know, and I've had a lot of guys that have lately told me that's what they did to me, and I'm still pissed at them. And next time I see him, I'm going to punch him out. And I'm like, why bother? You didn't. I said, why don't next time they do? Why don't you just relax and enjoy yourself?
Now I've had a lot of in my groups. A lot of men will talk. The groups get very, very personal,
right?
And they will actually talk about how another ET came in and mounted them, and that's how they had the genetic.
Yeah.
That's how they got there. Yes, that's how they.
Yeah. Well, isn't that interesting? Now, do you think that was a screen memory of an actual alien doing it?
I don't think so, because these men would talk very detailed about the aliens, what they look like. Most of them were hybrids, for sure.
Interesting.
For sure,
Yeah.
they were hybrids. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I think I'm not sure what time. Yeah. MJ, let's take a break right now, and then we'll come back, and I want to talk a little bit about if the girls know anything about any more stuff with the alien hybrid stuff. But I do want to go into the having of the children. If any of you guys have heard anything about having the children.
Well, what comes to mind, since this is a Valentine's special, is the work of Eve Lorgen and the Alien Love Bite.
Yeah, let's talk about that when we come back. Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. We are live from the Wecopa Casino and Resort here in Scottsdale, Arizona, Fountain Hills, Arizona. We are at International UFO Congress, which, by the way, is now owned by a different group of people. And I saw some reminders of the past. There were big alien blow-ups that used to be in Laughlin. Do you remember those, Melinda? Yeah, do you guys remember those? I was going, where have I seen those before? And I'm like, I walked up to Alejandro and I said, are those from the past? He goes, yeah, John never wanted them out, and so here they are now because we like them. So yeah, it's really cool. I'm really enjoying it, and it's got a little, not that John didn't run an amazing conference, but with Alejandro and Karen at the helm, I really feel good about this year. We're having a great time, and
well, one really lovely thing is I think I haven't gone and counted, but it's a lot more women speakers than they've had in a long time. And so the women are well represented in the schedule and more so than ever. And that's, I think that's, a real big plus because there are a lot of women researchers in the field, and these conferences need to pay homage to that. You're really good at your conferences without a doubt, but some of these other more mainstream ones, and they made a point. They'd gotten complaints from people about having more women, and so that they did. And I think it's a nice representation, and I'm really glad that they did that. They really made an effort to, and I think they should be applauded for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no. So we're having a great time. It's just day one, it may get weirder yet. So Who knows? Especially with all of us girls here. And I got to say, we're having a great time tonight talking about alien sex and alien love bites and alien children and hybrids and insemination and, orgasms and all kinds of fun things here tonight. And, the alien thank you. And we love that. That was a great story, Melinda. But what I want to get into is something a little more serious here. And we're going to start off with that. And that is where I call where if you're in some kind of program or you're awakened or something's happening, Eve Lorgen, as you so aptly put it before the break, it's called The Alien Love Bite for her, and she wrote a book about it. And it's where they kind of, the cosmos or the aliens or God knows who's doing it, puts you together with somebody that may or may not be the right guy for you in the first place, and you become triggered that you're with them and you're obsessed by them and they're obsessed by you, and it turns into this whole thing that's just so bad. But anyhow, give us your definition of what she was trying to tell us.
Well, traditionally it was feeling that the aliens are manipulating humans into a love situation, into a relationship. So, and often it was two abductees. So it seems like they'll orchestrate two abductees. I haven't gotten into this much because for a long time I said, well, that's really weird. That never happened to me. And they didn't orchestrate a relationship, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I realized years later, and I didn't know it back then, my first real boyfriend back when I was in high school, I'll just say his first name, Dave. Dave, if you ever listens to this, will know it's him. And
by the way, this is Melinda Leslie speaking, if you guys didn't know that already. I should be introducing who they are talking, and I'm bad. So I'm bad host, spank me. Here we go.
No, someone else can spank you. That's okay. We're going downhill fast here. My reputation is gone. Okay. Okay. So, good Lord. Okay. So, but for a long time I was like, what? That's weird. Okay. Yeah. I know some abductees that met each other, and it seemed like maybe it might have been orchestrated by ET. It's all very questionable. But then I remembered that, and I didn't know it back when we were together. And it wasn't until years later I ran into him somewhere, and he went into this whole thing. This is my boyfriend from high school, and so as adults, we'd kind of on and off for years stayed in touch, but, probably within 10 years of high school, we'd lost contact, really. And
what a matchup!
And what a team, Mike. Metro PCS and the iPhone SE for $0 on a network that covers 99% of people in the U.S. Oh, impressive.
Play with the best. Switch to Metro PCS on an unlimited LTE plan and get a 32-gig iPhone SE for $0. Metro PCS. Coverage not available in some areas, plus sales tax. Claim based on talk and text. Not valid for active numbers currently on the T-Mobile network or active on Metro PCS in the past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Long story short, I ran into him somewhere, and he said, we've shared a lot in the past, and I think I can share this with you. And he goes in the story of how he'd learned he was an abductee. Yeah. Wow. And it was years later, and I knew that I was, and he brought up out of view, and he says, how do you feel about such a thing? I said, I'm okay with it. And he said, yeah, have you heard of that before? And I go, yeah, I better I am one too, and I've been on an investigation course, and into the fact that I'd had that happen. So this was many years later, and it was out of the blue that he brought this up. And so then when I heard of Eve's research, and she wrote a book on it and everything, I went back and go, and it's kind of like like the aliens play Cupid. That's what she's basically saying. And I realized the way him and I met. And we met through very metaphysical circumstances, and it turned out we were both lifelong abductees and had had it as kids. And and suddenly I felt like my whole life had been orchestrated by someone else, Yeah. And I had to go, whoa. And here I thought that was kind of a silly thing, and then I learned, oh wait, it applied to me. Yeah. Absolutely. And at least in that situation. Yeah. And so this is actually a common thing with abductees to find themselves in relationships together, and then they can be really wrong and have a million things, but they feel like something else orchestrated it that brought them together. And maybe it was meant to take the ovum and the sperm in abductions from those people. See, Janet's over there nodding away, to to set that up so they could create hybrids from them, even if he doesn't get her pregnant in life. They take both of their materials for that reason. And so it seems, and usually, often these relationships are not long-term. They're often short, and they burn out really fast. They're really passionate, and they burn out. And that was true with him and I. And there's another individual, without going into it, where I think that whole thing was something fast that burnt out that way too. Misha knows what I'm talking about, but I can get into it. But and you kind of go, and I realized now, whoa, here I always thought that was kind of silly till I realized it had actually existed in my own experience.
I totally agree with you. And I look back on my life now, and I know now what I didn't know then, and I'm absolutely flabbergasted at how there's a chemical reaction in my brain that made me go just absolutely ape over somebody. And Janet should be up next. Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, what the heck was that all about? Because you look back on it when you're a little older and you just go, I would never do that. Why would I do that? And you did it. And then you just go, why? So Janet's in the hot seat again. So Janet, what's your take on this?
Well, Whitley Strieber describes in Majestic, the book, that happened with these two characters in that book. So that's going back to 20, 30 years ago. And so
weren't they all kids together in their school, the children's school? Different book. But I thought they were two of the kids out of that book that they put together later. Am I wrong?
It's been a long time, but it was the daughter was her father was in the military, and then anyway, so it was something with these two kids, and they were in heat. They couldn't resist each other, and the parents didn't want them to get together, but and they somehow knew that if they got together. Anyway, they ended up climbing in the window of the second floor, and they went into her closet and they were hiding, but they were going thump 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 thump, and the dad went, and just as he went and he came and. They said, "Oh my God!" They knew she was pregnant.
Yeah, instantly.
Instantly pregnant. It's like you two are getting married immediately, so they would have no shame. And so, And the other one that talked about it was Jean Dixon, back in the '60s. Right. Yeah, you remember that? I do remember she said that I was listening to the radio going. Had the little transistors going to school. But it was about 65 or 66, and she said the aliens are taking children, little boys and girls, and they're matching them up. And so when I was an adult and I met, let's see who was first, Jason. You know how when you start a relationship, you get to look at the little pictures when they were a kid. You want to see how cute they were when a kid? I picked up the picture of Jason and I dropped it. I went, I know that kid. I know that kid, that age, that little boy. We were together. So they start matching you.
Yeah, is this a boyfriend of yours from the past named Jason?
Yeah, Jason was the boyfriend I had before I met Sasha. Okay. And then I after Jason, they set it up so you're breaking up. So I had a long-term marriage, but it's like, you can't stay in that marriage. We got to diversify your DNA because we're going to use these kids. So they get you together so you're actually copulating, and then you are getting pregnant. It saves them time or something,
Well, that's interesting you said that, because it's a lot of work getting us on the ships and going through all they got to go through and all that, whereas they can just put us out in the pasture and put the bowls in with us and hey, here we go.
Like we said, there's something with the natural attraction and mating and the orgasms you typically have when you're sexually attracted. Those children are more viable, maybe?
I think they thrive better. I honestly do. I kind of always felt that if it's conceived in a love situation, the hybrid kid has a better chance of surviving. And there's one thing Bob Bigelow said. Was it Bob or was it TV? George Knapp. When they talked about the NIDS Ranch, there was an incident at the very end of their whole working on the NIDS Ranch that they said one thing that I'll never forget. I think it was Colm Kelleher that said it in an interview. He said, what we've discovered at that ranch is that a mother's love for her child is truly the answer to everything we were seeking on that ranch. And they never went into explanation why or what, But it all goes back to, I think, to the breeding program, whereas the love of a mother with the hybrid is the key to whether that hybrid's going to survive or not. Right. And whether the hybrid can actually accept and understand what the love is. Because I think as a hybrid, they may not get those endocrine system, those endorphin abilities through the brain cells that go, because the aliens don't have that. They just don't have that capability.
Fascinated by it. Yeah, we're fascinated by it. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. So then the second thing happened with Jason, the same thing, and I knew, or not Jason, Steve. And then, but of course, all those things break up because they wanted me to go on to Vinny. And then they gave me my ultimate orgasm, which is divine partnership. I got to be with my twin flame sacred relationship. So we've been together 20 years. So that was my payoff. You're getting old now. You're not in the breeding program anymore. We're going to give you this partner. But boy, we had a lot of fun, being really, really, really sexual. And it's the type of sex that you can have like with the aliens, and it's otherworldly. Tantra does that for you. If you really do study and understand it, and you've got a good partner and it's somebody that's loving and caring and wants to do it with you, it's an amazing thing. Yeah. And most Americans are afraid to talk about it. We're very sexually suppressed in this country, and I'm not saying that the other countries are much more different than us, but I find that we're very Victorian in that way. Yeah, well, what's repressed comes out kind of satanic, or we do have that overflow, don't we? Right. Yes, we do. Yeah. It's a different word, but it's that way. What is repressed comes out demonic. That's what demonic. Yes. Mm-hmm. And so that's what's happening in our culture, repressed sexuality. So we would actually do better if we let people be more sexually free, but we shame and blame and that's why we have all this problem. But anyway, what was the final thing? So during this tantric relationship, the ultimate thing I discovered is that I could open stargates. And I would love to teach this somehow, but people have to be open-minded. So if you had your divine partner, and I'm not advertising it, but it's a theory, okay? It's a theory. Remember that, folks? We're not saying go do this. But I actually talked about this at length with Peter Moon, but that's another story. Because he did the Montauk stuff, and they use sexuality to open stargates. So we talked at length, and so I opened stargates. I would go up I would take my body, got my crown, I'd be above time and space, I would put a call out, and they would come. And I would call in craft, and then I would go on. I went on this library ship, and I would travel with them, and I'd channel them, but it wasn't like Bashar with one person. It was like, who's available? I only want people on the light side. Don't want any dark beings, and come through, and we'll allow you a voice. And so there's probably a way to train people, but mine was using the sexuality to activate the Kundalini energy and awakening into this stargate. So that was part of what they do. You can open stargates. So they're harnessing that energy, and they use it to travel. Yeah. Yes. You gotta get close.
So wait, Jenna, you're telling me that's all I need to do to have my tours be more successful? Open up the stargates and call them the ships? Never mind.
Yes.
So you got to do tantric star watching. That's how it's going to happen. There we go.
Now that would be a hit in Sedona.
That would be a hit in Sedona, I got to say. I'm sorry to say, folks, it'd be a hit anywhere.
We have such a repressed society. I've been trying to get, basically the Satanists, they use 12.
The Satanists are doing it.
And they do the sexual ritual, and they capture the timeline. And that's why we're in this reality, because they know how to do it at the perfect times and the perfect places. I talked to Peter and said, well, what if we get these women together? We can pretty much identify the times that they're capturing the timeline and taking it. He said, yes, but I have been trying for 20 years to get 12 people.
Well, what do you think that the real girls were doing?
Right. Yeah. Oh, I just got goosies with that one. You are right on.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what these guys were doing. And I don't want to go into that tonight because it is Valentine's Day. But, all of us girls in this room are very much aware of the dark side of this whole society, whatever we're into, this community we're into, this, lifestyle we're into, whatever. But, there's one part to this that we have not talked about, and that is the fact that once you're aware of it, you can never go back and you can't deny it. And there's a lot of people in the UFO community that won't touch that part of this story. They won't touch the conspiracy, demonic, satanic side of this. They won't touch the targeted individual side. They won't touch the satanic ritual abuse side. They won't touch the, all the stuff that comes from this other dark side of these underground bases and the MyLabs and the, and the monarchs, and you guys, it all goes hand in hand. And as I've been saying on this show for years and years, it's all connected, and you can't sit and talk about one, and you can't sit and talk about the other. You have to talk about it all as a unit. That's why every week I'm trying to touch upon something different every week that brings it all together. And sometimes I get shot down for it on my show. I mean, I have people that say, don't talk about that stuff, it's just going to bring it into you. And I'm saying, no, it's going to expel it, because once you put the light on it, it goes away. Right. I don't have to deal with it anymore, but I feel sorry for the people who are hiding from it, and they're going to have to deal with it now. So anyhow, we're not going to bring it up anymore tonight, but they are masters at doing that. You're absolutely right.
Counteract it, because it only takes 1% to overcome the dark.
That's true.
So anyway, people who want to do it, I don't even know if I could do it. Even if I had 12 people that were agreeable to it, it's going to take a lot.
I'm working with some people, and I know this is kind of crazy, but I'm working with some people that are trying to do it through technology. Yeah. And they're going through your mind with different types of frequencies and light. And they think they can achieve the same type of thing where they can take you to an orgasmic state, but also an aware state at the same time. So it's not like it'll be total body, but it'll also be total mind in control at the same time. And if you can do that, you can transcend time, space, and everything. So,
however, I think you need to have, actually I should say 24 people, partners. 24 sets of partners, because you have the women, or they're sitting in the circle with their feet out and their heads are connected, and so they're creating this channel of energy. Okay, and the men are the givers, and I don't know how detailed I get into. Yeah,
but don't go into that detail.
Well, you talked about the licking, and and that has, even from humans, has.
Well, that's interesting that the raptors do that. Interestingly enough, dogs and cats.
So you got to learn from the animal world, and so the theory is, and I think it'll pan out, is you get all the 12 women, and I'm sorry, I think it has to be male or female, because we're balancing the masculine and feminine energy, right? And they have to be involved with each other. They have to be lovers. They have to be connected in some way. Yes. So I think that thing about just doing it energetic probably won't work. Because, yeah, you have to be loving somebody, yeah. But
it's very interesting, and I think we can open portals that way. But you know what we're going to talk about in a show coming up very soon here is the Zendras and the portals that the Peruvian masters are opening. You know about those.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, yeah. They've been doing this for quite some time. Sixto Paz, you know who Sixto is, don't you? Sixto Paz or Sixto? Sixto. Yeah, the guy's doing some amazing work with these Zendras, and they get all these people to meditate, and then these portals open up, and 225 people who see aliens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know.
This is Stargate.
It's a Stargate. Yeah. So sign me up.
I know. We're all ready to go. We're already hit the Peru.
Cameron wants to witness a portal opening, so if you can.
Oh, I'm already dealing with that. Yeah, we're already making a portal happen for Cameron. As a matter of fact, when the portal closes, we're shoving him in and sending him on. I know, but he wants to go, so we were like, okay, we'll kick you to the alien curb, no problem, Grant.
I grew up in a house with an open portal. You don't know what's going to come through, so you have to be very, very careful where you're sending people.
That is true. You're absolutely right. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next subject. Thank you so much. I want to talk a little bit before the end of the show. How much time do we have? Oh, we got about a half hour left. Okay, what I want to talk about that is the children that you guys, especially you two right here, have had that you've felt in your body or that you know was taken from you. I want to hear about that whole process of pregnancy in space, you know? I know it sounds really weird. Space babies are coming our way.
Well, the main thing is...
Oh, this is Misha Johnston, by the way.
All right. The main thing is when you're inseminated, there is definitely something takes place where you feel, whether it is by a human or an alien, you feel pregnant. A woman feels...
Instantly?
They have that feeling that they're pregnant, okay? Then they'll have the false pregnancies. And these I've experienced several myself, that you think for sure, absolutely, you know you're pregnant because of the different things that go on in your in anatomy in your body. So then you will have the miscarriages, and I've had those as well.
Now, one question about the miscarriages. Do you think that the miscarriages are really miscarriages, or do you think that they're taking it and then you think you're having a miscarriage?
It's like a six week gestation period, and then they're gone. Now, I had a memory where I was in a situation where they were delivering this, however size baby it was. Really? The instrument that they used was like a jellyfish. And this jellyfish gently, now this was a longer pregnancy, it had to have been, but anyway, and I have a picture of it in my book, that this jellyfish kind of thing, and it just gently goes to the head and gently pulls them out. There was no problem to the child, no forceps, nothing. This living kind of jellyfish.
It's a membrane.
It's a membrane.
And that has the ability to attach to it.
That's right.
And it has the ability to go in your body.
That's right.
In the canal.
In the canal. Right.
And it's very thin, and it just kind of does its thing.
It's organic.
Yeah.
It is not intrusive at all to you, and so that is another experience I had. Just a little bit about, I wanted to go back just briefly about all right, many people in my group, including family members that I hope would never listen to this, had love bite experience where when they met each other, they knew they had been on board ship together, and they knew. So they just knew that they had seen each other. As they talked more, they realized, both being experiencers, that they were on board together. Next thing, they have a child. Then they have a second child. Both these kids are so hybrid. The boy has the big head. I've got a picture of him too. The little girl is like a fairy child. She's amazing. Then all of a sudden, this mad, passionate love affair that happened. In fact, he takes her up on the Paris Eiffel Tower at Las Vegas to propose to her, and it's this kind of a romance, and they just adore each other. Then all of a sudden, after that second child's born, within 6 months, she can't stand the sight of him. She just can't. She doesn't love him anymore. I can't stand the sight of you.
No, there is an explanation for that, though. Do you think she had postpartum depression, or that she was going through difficult pregnancy, or because chemical, when you have a kid, sometimes the chemicals that ensue afterwards make you not want to talk to anybody.
That's a possibility, but she blames him for her being pregnant twice, so fast, and then she just. I truly believe it's because, plus for the fact they still have this hate relationship, and they have 2 children that they have to, work back and forth with.
That's really tough. And if the aliens are orchestrating something like this, or any other kind of maybe a sinister force behind it, we don't know. But who is ever orchestrating these relationships, it's on such a deeper level that most people can't even comprehend. I mean, it's so hard to deal with. That's why Eve, I don't think her book ever got a lot of traction, because it's so hard to understand. And unless you've been through some kind of mind control, my labs, some kind of thing where you understand that there's something much more powerful going on here that we don't have control over. It's hard to get, even I like just said to you, could it be postpartum depression? I mean, nobody wants to admit that this is things going on. Right. Now, I know it does because I'm a firsthand experiencer of it, so I know exactly that it does. Because I did things I know that I would never have done in my entire life, and I wake up one day and I go, what just happened in my life? What was that, And it only happens to people that are truly part of a program somewhere, somehow. Well, exactly. I really believe that.
Well, Eve Larg and I go back, way back, when I started having my relationship with Yano, back in Fallbrook. And I was having the relationship, and we talked about it in her group a lot. So, to be honest with you, I haven't read her book. I'm so sorry.
But she know what?
But I don't know if my story is in it, is what I'm wondering. It could be, because she knew about Ayano.
Anybody here read her book?
Long time ago.
Because it is so hard for when you are experiencing these things and then to read the book about them. Either they don't want you to do it, because every time you try to read it, you fall asleep.
Yeah.
Yes, and I did own it at one time, and I did fall asleep, and now I don't know where it's at. So, but I find this not just with my family member, but also many people in the group have the love bites, and
I have
it's very, very common.
Very good friend who's actually married, and he said this love bite thing happened to him during a big abduction phase in his life, and he met this woman and he got obsessed with her to the point where he's practically stalking her. Yes. And he couldn't believe he was doing it. And here he is married, and he's like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I would never do this to my wife. I would never do this to anybody. And it turns out the chick was doing the same thing to her boyfriend about him. And then they finally did their thing, and they finally knew they made the hybrid kids. Uh-huh. And then they couldn't even stand the sight of, not the sight of each other, but it's like, ooh, I can't be around you. You just about ruined my life kind of thing.
And that's exactly what happens. You come to this realization is, what did I do? And I've talked about this all the time. I've had many love bites too. Some of my love bites have been about ETs and the connection with human and them being experiencers. And then some of them have also been the government, the monarch. There's a love bite going there. I had a missing marriage, 8 months, which I have no memory.
We can't even call that a bite. You can't remember getting bit. Here's an interesting conundrum for you guys. Was the Manson CIA controlled Helter Skelter and all those chicks in the LSD experiment, was that the beginning of the love bite thing? Because all those women were devoted to him.
Absolutely true. When I watched it because I needed to know. And I could see that they were that way. It was on mind control. It wasn't a love bite it was a mind control thing. And they do the mind control. That's the other aspect of it. The ETs, and of course, where did they learn it? Back engineered information from the ETs, which is the mind control. ETs do mind control. Our factions of our government now do mind control. She's dying to say something.
I just wanted to add, I've been researching this a bit. I haven't gone into it much, but I just wonder what's out there. But I think it's multi-generational. Because when I did my genealogy, I had like 3 or 4 partners that all were related to presidents.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm related to all the Stewarts back in England, and I didn't even know that until 2 years ago.
My boyfriend was Jason Stewart.
Oh. See, now this is very interesting. Yeah. And you look at the people in my family, we all look like the Queen when we all get old. Exactly, yeah.
And then maybe the only other thing about the ET and the hybrid is there's hybrids being born. Like I said, my grandson, now you know who it is. My grandson's a hybrid. But
you know what? He's fabulous. He's the most amazing kid. He's really, really smart. Yeah,
he is. And yes, he's fabulous, and he's doing great. And but it's hard.
What I want to say about that is, I think it's really cool if what they're doing is making children like your grandson, and they are the product that's going to run this world in the future. More kudos to them, because they're so brilliant, so loving, so caring, so empathic, they know when people are lying to them right up front. There's no, you can't lie to these kids.
No.
You can't pull this demonic control on these kids because they're going to see right through it. They're not going to allow it to happen. And this is really, if this is what we're heading to, and this is what they've been trying to build here on this planet, then I got to bless these aliens for having done it, if that's the end game.
And I believe that is because I communicate with many races galactic light language. And so I hear them, we talk back and forth, and I've been told several times in several different ways that we are the bridge between your planet, your civilization, and our civilization, and we are here to make things better. We're here to stop the wars. We're here to stop the hate, to stop the judgments, to stop the prejudice. They're here for that. And if all you have to do is be around these wonderful star children, these hybrids, to see that they really don't understand people being mean to each other. They don't get it.
They don't even see black, white, or yellow or anything. No, they don't even care.
They do not. They do not. They don't care. They don't care. So, and the Greys have said that to me, that's one of the reasons they're here is to raise, and I do believe that they're here for raising the consciousness, and this is how they're doing it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, we may be the last generation, and not us in particular, because everybody in this room is very awake and aware, as I put it. But you look around, just all these people. If like I said, this planet's going to change. There's going to be a whole new DNA brought in, and within 100 years, there's not going to be wars. There's not going to be pollution. There's not going to be whatever it is, because these children that are 5 years old, 10 years old right now are not going to tolerate it. It's just not going to happen.
I believe the millennium children may be some of the ones that they tried this artificial stuff on. I'm sorry, but they are so artificially intelligent. So I really think that, and so they make mistakes too. So I think that they tried that artificial route, and now they realize we have to go back to the emotional, the love, the consciousness,
the organic. System that actually the DNA, and that's why I think is. Tana, you're younger and you're having these kids now, these hybrid kids, but they gave you a very nice experience, right? While you had them. So there you go.
Yeah. And, it's really interesting. I'm a bisexual woman and I was married to.
We're coming out tonight.
Well, there's a point to this. I was married to a woman for almost 10 years and this is a large span of where contact was taking place. And when you talk about a woman who is having contact involved with the hybrid program and is not really making babies or having a particular kind of mating ritual that would produce physical babies, then it's interesting. It throws a different curveball into this, right? So I don't know, just on the baby subject, there's just so much, but where do you want to take it next, Lorien?
Well, it's interesting you said that because that may be why they gave you all of the pleasure while you were doing the kids, having the kids, conceiving the kids, because you didn't have a man to be there doing that kind of thing they thought. You see, maybe they don't understand women having relationships with women, and I get that they could barely understand us having relationships with men. So this must be a little curveball for the ET little dudes because, I know they're confused about everything we do. And you must have really been a project.
Yes. I've always been a bit of a project. But one of the things I was interested in, and my body did, during this time where contact was really taking place more heavily, and hybrid relations.
What a matchup!
And what a team, Mike. Metro PCS and the iPhone SE for $0 on a network that covers 99% of people in the U.S. Oh, impressive.
Play with the best. Switch to Metro PCS on an unlimited LTE plan and get a 32-gig iPhone SE for $0. Metro PCS. Coverage not available in some areas, plus sales tax. Claim based on talk and text. Not valid for active numbers currently on the T-Mobile network or active on Metro PCS in the past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
And, kind of contact. I often wondered, is this my physical body going through the process, or do I have like a little, for lack of a better term, astral baby in the area? So I don't know. It's really interesting because my body was having specific reactions. I would skip rhythms and cycles. Yeah. And I had a point where, my breast started lactating. And so I had all these physical type symptoms, but in a lot of my contact, I was really brought up to speed quite a bit on what was happening to my body and what I was being put through. And so put through sounds negative. It really wasn't that bad. And as a matter of fact, I actually feel like I'm playing an important role because I've always felt that they've treated me with value and like I was an asset. Right. And I've always been cared for. And in some cases, very much like taking the dog to the vet, you get a sense that I don't understand what's going on around me and I'm freaked out. But at the same time, they're like, shh, it's okay. And if you connect on a heart level and you go, okay, I really do feel okay. I just am freaked out because I don't understand what's happening. So, okay, I'm good to go. I'll be okay. I'm just going to sit over here. Just tell me if there's something I need to know, And so that would happen. But long story short, during my contact, I have wondered if there was an aspect of this that was taking place on an energetic level, because as they were bringing me up to speed, they would tell me time periods. Like there was literally one contact experience where I was shown different kinds of fetuses or eggs or whatever. And they even showed me a process of how they go about choosing and matching up with women that will, hold some sort of gestation role. Okay.
Well, now, so were you able to hold? This goes for Misha too. Did you hold the baby in your body for any length of time? Was it only 6 weeks?
Basically, that's really about the only. There was the one time where I believe where they actually did the delivery. That was the closest thing to delivery. I would say that would have probably been 14 weeks. 14 I think.
Weeks.
Yeah.
How about you, and they would take them before I would even miss a period, but I would have full recollection of them taking it. Because at one point in my life, I was trying to get pregnant with my husband, and so I was doing the nightly check where you take your thermometer, and you knew, and they would come all the time. And I would come back and I'd been fighting with them. No, you're not. I want to have this alive. They never let me have a live birth. But I could tell when I got pregnant, because there's a feeling. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've been pregnant. Yeah. There's a feeling. You know. I could tell that night sometimes. It's like, oh my goodness.
How about when you're watching the little energy go into your body?
Yeah.
Orgasming. I've seen it.
I see it. There's a little soul coming in here.
Yeah.
So I've had lots of pregnancies, but never any missed periods or live births.
Okay, great. Now,
but see, what's interesting about the time frame with me is I have been at least shown that there are processes that can go up to 3 months. Yeah. And what is very interesting is I feel that I have more experience with 3, they said really not usually 4, mostly 3, but 4 does happen, they said, but not like maybe 4 full months. They really said it goes up to 3. And I felt when I would almost go like 3 months on, 2 months, 3 months off, 3 months on, 2 months, 3 months off. I mean, it really felt like it had a bit of a pattern. Yeah. And I would have it either a recollection of a contact experience. I'd wake up and I would, remember and recall, or some days I wouldn't, and I would just wake up and I would go, oh, I'm not alone. And it's like, how when you have those dreams, it's completely not ET related, but let's say someone who's passed comes and contacts you in a dream, and all of a sudden you're in your dream world and you're like, oh, do regular dream business, and then you're all, oh, I'm not alone, right? Yeah. The same feeling happens, I think, for me in my body. I would be very aware of something here, and I'm pointing to my stomach. It's like I was not alone. And so I would have this feeling for up to 3 months. And then all of a sudden, either memory related or otherwise, sometimes I would just wake up and know, oh, I'm alone again. I'm alone. And sometimes it would be associated with some sort of retrieval process. And sometimes it wasn't. But I did always have a sense. And for me, it was mostly 3 months on, 3 months off. It really felt like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did they tell you how many kids you've got?
I have only met one child, and it was a baby, and it was seemed very, it's like a baby boy. Mm-hmm. And it looked very gray, although I've had images in my mind come of a gray kind of girl, which it's interesting because when I tune into her in my memory and kind of recall her and think of her, I get a sense of like, ethnicity or foreignness, almost like she doesn't speak my language. And so I don't ever feel like I can intuitively connect and conversate with that. And the baby just has always felt too young to really conversate with, because this is, I mean, I'm 36, so I haven't had a chance to have, if I have children, they haven't probably grown up very much yet. So I'm looking forward to hopefully meeting any of them.
Like Melinda, and she met hers when it was older.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that may happen. I would like that to happen.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Have you met your children?
Oh, absolutely. Not all of them have been presented to me. I've had 5, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 presented to me. But one time I was in the nursery and there were all these children around from all different ages. There was even adult looking, like maybe 16, 17-year-olds, something like that. And I said to the mother of the nurse, the caretaker, I said, "Which one is mine?" And she telepathically told me, they all are. So that's how I knew. And approximately there's 17 or so, but that is a number that has been confirmed to me. And it's something else that I found, because I've done a lot of research in this, is that so many women that have the hybrid or in the hybrid program are either have never been able to have children in this lifetime, and they are shown their many children, or they were like Janet and myself, who are our husbands. We were trying to get pregnant and we couldn't. We kept having miscarriage. So we find that a lot too.
But you've had a couple kids since then with a second or third husband. Is that correct? Or
no, well, we can't call that first one a husband, okay? The one, I will refuse to call.
I get that.
Yes, a kidnapping a husband. No. But my second husband, I've had 2.
You had 2.
2. It took us 4 years of these other things, and then of course after that I kept having. So we thought we were going to be having more kids, but 2.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting. Now, Melinda, do you want to tell us about meeting?
I just want to say really quick.
okay, Melinda's coming over to the hot seat. She's dying to tell me something.
Well, we're saying women here, and this is also very common for men in abductions. That's
right, the presentation of the kids. I forgot about
hybrid
that.
presentations happen to men. They're taking their sperm and creating hybrids. One that comes to mind right away is famous abductee Jesse Long, that's had 12 presentations, including a very powerful experience with one of his hybrids dying. And for his sake, they had like a funeral for it, or a service that they had him there for, and they did this whole thing where they wanted him to be a part of that for some reason, closure on his part or whatever. But he's had 12 specific presentations. That's the most I've heard with a guy. I know one woman who's pretty sure. Now, in life, she has 10 kids, and she thinks she's had 18 presentations, and and that's the most I'd heard of. Prior to her, the most I'd heard was Jesse with 12. But, there's probably other abductees that have had.
Didn't Whitley?
Larger numbers even yet.
Yeah, I've heard larger numbers myself. Yeah. Didn't Whitley ever have any kids? Do you remember?
Whether he's had presentations, you mean hybrid presentations? I'm trying to think about that. I think so.
Really?
I think so. I'd have to think back.
Yeah. Did he have a presentation once? I remember.
I think so. I think so.
That they said, yeah.
But it is. But the point is, it granted, you hear it more from the women, because there often is a thing where they want you to hold the baby, love the baby, like bond, and it's a motherly thing. I think that they're going for more than with the men. Yes. But I just wanted to jump in because we kept talking about women. I thought I just wanted to throw my 2 cents into the ring, here.
Not that we have any sense to rub left in this show. But that there were, men having hybrid presentations too.
Yeah.
Did Dan Sherman ever have any hybrid presentations? Do you guys know? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
I don't either. See, this dates us because we're sitting here and we're all running through all these names. You've had. Oh. I've got a producer here actually giving me a countdown on time on the show, which is wonderful because I would never know, But it's very interesting because we've all been around in the community long enough to remember, like we're throwing out names now, and then we're all trying to rack our brains. Did they ever have kids presented to them? And it's one of those things that if you think about it, a lot of the big name people that are contactees and abductees don't talk about too much. Right. They don't. I don't know if they just don't want to talk about it, or if they're afraid to talk about it, or what they think people think of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. Most of the well-known abduction cases over the last 30 years have. I mean, this is so common that all abductees have it, and those well-known cases have it too.
That's true.
I mean,
Kim Carlsberg comes to mind. She's had, doesn't she?
Well, everybody. Just assume it's everybody. I mean, you go back to Betty and Barney Hill. They took sperm from Barney, and they gave her what she called a pregnancy test. But it was actually probably the taking of ovum meaning Betty Hill, when she explained the process. And everyone goes, "Oh, we know what that was." Right. At the time, she asked them, "What are you doing to me?" And they said, "We're giving you a pregnancy test." But that was her understanding back there. But then you go back to the Hill case. So this has always been there. It's just so common, you guys. It's why I think. And I'm part of a documentary being made for this very reason. It is why abductions happen. Yes, many things happen, but it is still predominantly about the taking of ovum from women, sperm from men, and the production of hybrids. It's always been there. Yes, other things happen. So at one time, abduction research was so focusing on that to the exclusion of all the other things that happen. But now I think it's more balanced, where everyone goes, okay, that's still there. That's like 80 or 90% of all abduction cases. But then there's the being shown technology and the earth change.
Yeah, how do you fly the ship?
And how you fly the ships. And, there's so many other things, and downloading of information, and there's so many other things that happen. But that doesn't make this go away. It's still there in 90% of the cases,
Now, is it really 90% anymore?
I have a feeling if you talk to the major abduction researchers, they would say easily. Yeah.
Really? Okay, because as far as I can tell, in the last 2 decades, I thought it had slowed down a bit.
I think Ray Hernandez has the figures, but it's gone down.
You can go to Ray and find out.
Go ahead. Let me just say one final thing. That I had 2 presentations, but what they clearly told me is that they're not limited to just taking your sperm and egg and producing one baby. Once they have your genetic material, they can make hundreds of thousands of children.
Exactly.
That's it. Yeah.
So what was your final thought on this?
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. No, it's just, like I said, I thought it had slowed down, but Janet makes a very good point.
What did she say?
Okay, in my experience groups, it is a daily occurrence that people talk, not just, in fact, I will have women be sharing about their experience, sharing their pictures of babies all the time. And I'll even have men will go, I've had that. They're starting to get braver and braver.
Okay, yeah, because it has been, I got to say that, though, the taboo about the men talking about it, because they're usually being, cattle prodded into the orgasm, and they don't ever like to talk about it. And boy, I'll tell you what, all the guys I've talked to that have had it happen to them even recently have said to me, when I see that little sucker next time, he's going to get punched in the face. I mean, none of them are ever happy about it. And like I said earlier in the show, yeah, they see it as rape. They do not see it as something where it's acceptable to them in their mind to live with.
Even when they're having the intercourse with the aliens, they still don't feel good about it. Yeah,
surprisingly, yeah. You'd think that you'd accept it, but I guess not. Women are just conditioned to accept that type of thing, because that's what we are. We're nurturers. We're baby makers. We do that, whereas guys just don't get it, I guess. So,
if there's any men out there, or of course women, that want to talk about that, at Starseed Awakening ET Experiencer groups on Facebook. So you could just look at the events. They're twice a week. Come and talk, come and share, be brave.
Yeah. Say it one more time how they can get a hold of you.
At Starseed Awakening ET Experiencer group on Facebook. Just go through the events. I have the ads all the time, every single week. Not this week. I'm here.
Yes, dear.
I would like to just say thank you for everyone.
Yeah, you have to come up and talk into the mic. Okay. Well, Robin wanted to say thanks to everybody for sharing. Yeah.
Because by you sharing, it brings things back that we've actually experienced that says, yeah, that did happen. And so it helps with the memory, and it makes more sense now.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this tonight. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for thanking us, because it did. It took bravery on every one of your parts to sit here tonight and talk about something this personal. And that's why I told you guys out in the hall earlier today I wanted to do a woman's thing tonight. And I had a kind of an idea of where I wanted to go with this. It went a little further than I thought we'd go, but it's good. It's a little deeper, as Robin's saying here. Oh God. Well, anyhow, the point to all this is, folks, everybody's very brave here. And like Misha said, if you want to be braver, if you want to come out, if you want to talk about this to anybody, she's got her groups. You can always email me through my website. Tana Newberry's got a website. You can email her. Janet Lesson's got a website. You can find her. Just Google any of our names. Melinda Leslie, if you've got My Lab's experiences going on where you're being traumatized, get a hold of Melinda. Just hit the Google, type in any of our names, and I'm sure that MJ and the guys at the network will put up Starseed Awakening on the archives of this show. And you guys just reach out to somebody. Even, I always say this. If you've got to talk to somebody and you're in a state that has a MUFON meeting once a month, get to the MUFON meeting, because chances are somebody like Misha, Melinda, Tana, Janet, myself will be at that meeting. You're not alone, especially when it comes to something this personal, and it's very hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around it. It really is, and we get that. And a lot of people have been in the research community a long time and working behind the scenes. We all know it. Every single one of us know it, and we'll be the first person to say, open up, tell the truth about your experience. And once you talk about it, it just takes the edge off instantly.
And you start remembering so much more.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The denial will kill your remembrance altogether. So anyhow, well, God bless everybody and have a great week out there. And next week I have a very special show for you. Melinda Leslie is going to be back. We're going to be talking about To the Stars Academy, what she's learned recently, and it's kind of up to the minute before UFO Con about what's developing with To the Stars. And Melinda's just had a little bit of an insider experience, we call it. And she promised me like the first interview out the gate after Grant. And then after that, she'll probably be all over the news. She'll probably be in the New York Times for all I know. But, well, she's going to be out there. So, and I hope you guys listen to what she has to say, because she has very good insight onto what To the Stars Academy is doing, Tom DeLonge, the whole gang. So be with me next week. And then if you can, come to UFO Con in South San Francisco. That's caufocon.com. So we hope to see you there.
What a matchup!
And what a team, Mike. Metro PCS and the iPhone SE for $0 on a network that covers 99% of people in the U.S. Oh, impressive.
Play with the best. Switch to Metro PCS on an unlimited LTE plan and get a 32-gig iPhone SE for $0. Metro PCS. Coverage not available in some areas, plus sales tax. Claim based on talk and text. Not valid for active numbers currently on the T-Mobile network or active on Metro PCS in the past 90 days. See store for details.